This is John Jackson Miller, and you're listening to the Star Wars Canon Podcast. May the Force be with you.
There are stories about what happened.
It's true. All of it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast, episode 61. I am your host, Brian Miller, and I'm so glad you've decided to join me to talk about our favorite thing in the world, yet again, Star Wars. Joining me, as always, from across the pond, I think last week we said it was 8 time zones away, staying up late to talk about our favorite thing in the world, is my partner in crime, Mr. Usuf Wally. How's it going, brother?
It's going good. It's going good. I like this, the modern era where we're able to be time zones apart and talking about our favorite thing. And it's absolutely fantastic. I like being a partner in crime. That's a cool new nickname for me. I'm going to hang it up on my wall or something.
My fellow rebel sympathizer.
Yeah, there you go.
So, yeah, we've got rebel scum. We have got a hell of an episode this week, and it's kind of making up for the last couple of episodes where there wasn't a whole lot to talk about. We've got quite a bit of news to cover this week. And I think we've got 4 stories, a little bit of new canon this past week, some upcoming canon, and we've got 3 really great mailbag questions this week. We're going to find out who won last week's villain bracket. We're going to announce the new bracket for this week that you guys can go vote on. But before we get into all of that, let's get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. Guys, if you are a fan of the Star Wars Canon Podcast, the Marvel Cast, or just 1138 in general, you guys can head over to patreon.com/1138 productions and become a patron. You can show us some love there, help support the show. By doing so, you'll have access to full reaction videos of Book of Boba Fett that's up, full reaction videos for Obi-Wan Kenobi when they come out. And also, even if you don't want to donate or help support, which is no problem, there's also some free content on there as well for you guys. I sat down a few weeks ago and suffered greatly through the 1978 Star Wars Holiday Special, and that full reaction is on Patreon, completely free of charge for you guys to sit down and watch with me. Coming soon, I will be sitting down and watching the despecialized editions of the original Star Wars trilogy as well. And we'll be putting those reactions on there also. Also, check out 1138productions.com. That website is our baby right now. On that website, you'll be able to listen to this podcast. You'll be able to listen to the Marvel Cast. You'll be able to watch 1138 Gaming every week when I hop on and when I finally hop back on and start playing some more Horizon Zero Dawn. And you guys can find timelines for all kinds of franchises. Canon, Star Wars Canon, Star Wars Legends is on there, where we're going to be working on an Assassin's Creed timeline. There's a Halo timeline on there right now. Several timelines that I think that's going to end up being our speciality, actually. So head on over to 1138productions.com and check that out. So with all of that out of the way, Usuf, let's talk about some new canon, man. So this past week, we're filming and recording this on Thursday, the 28th. I think it was yesterday. We got Crimson Reign number 4 in the comic realm, and I think that was the only new canon that has come out so far, and I'm looking forward to reading it. Usuf, did you ever check out the War of the Bounty Hunters comic? I don't remember if you had said you did or not.
I did, because I started getting into a whole big rabbit hole. Went down a whole rabbit hole just because I started reading up more and more about bounty hunters because of the villain bracket we're on.
Right.
So I've only, I'm sorry, excuse me. I've only started looking at that recently. I haven't finished it though, like the whole run, because that was really cool.
I really liked the War of the Bounty Hunters run, and this Crimson Reign run right now is the direct sequel to that, where they're doing this massive crossover event again with Crimson Reign, and it's really showing, from what I have gathered so far, I haven't read any of it yet, but from what I've gathered and what I've been told is that this is showing Crimson Reign really kind of coming back to the forefront in the galaxy. And the reason I'm not reading it yet is because I want to do with Crimson Reign what I did with War of the Bounty Hunters, where instead of reading each comic week to week and they're kind of out of order, they're kind of released out of order a little bit. I want to sit down and get them all and then just power through the whole story. So I haven't started it. I've got the comics over here that I need to get through. But this week, Crimson Reign number 4 did drop. Next week, guys, on Wednesday, we are going to see the release of Star Wars number 23. And the long-awaited first issue of Obi-Wan is dropping next week. I cannot wait for the Obi-Wan comic.
Can't wait. Can't wait.
It's so cool knowing that starting next week we are getting into the Obi-Wan content leading up to the series coming out on the 27th. It's so surreal that we're getting to the point where the Obi-Wan content's starting to come out. And this is going to be a limited series. From what I've gathered so far, this is going to be a series of it's Obi-Wan in his hut on Tatooine just a couple weeks before A New Hope. And it's him kind of reflecting on his life. And each issue is a different story from a different part of his life leading up to where he is now. So I'm looking forward to Obi-Wan number 1. I think it's going to be an awesome series, especially to kick off issue 1 like this right before the Obi-Wan series comes out. So that's what we have to look forward to next week. Let's get into some news, man. Talking about comics, this is one that I'm really excited about. And I think, Usif, I'm pretty sure you're going to get excited about this one as well. Charles Soule, who has written, I think 2 of the 3 Vader runs, 2 of the, how many Vader runs have we had now in the comics? Charles Soule, also, he also wrote Light of the Jedi. He kicked off the High Republic. Has been promoted to a creative consultant at Lucasfilm, and will be consulting. The same way that they tried to get Tony Stark to be a consultant with the Avengers. We see how well that worked out. So he's going to end up being a consultant, a creative consultant moving forward. I'm really excited about this. The guy gets Star Wars. The guy understands what makes some of these characters tick. You know what I mean? He's done an amazing job with the Vader runs that he wrote. He's done an amazing job with the High Republic. Anytime he writes anything, I get excited about it. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can bring to the creative side of things. What do you think, Usif?
Yeah, I think this sets the maybe not sets the tone completely, just gives us a vibe, because we're seeing writers here get their shot to be part of the creative process, and we gotta admit that Star Wars has been lacking that. And this new era where we're seeing, Filoni and Favreau, this is just the Filoniverse and we're all living in it, sort of thing. This next phase. I love that. I love seeing the writer take charge of the creative process, or at least be a hands-on consultant, someone who's done it, someone who's written, stuff for the characters, stuff for other characters, different lines. He's involved with core characters like Vader. He's involved with the new characters in the new era where there's multiple writers working together on that, as we know. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I want to see more. I want to see what they can do. And I want to see if I'm not sure if this is going to be announced or not. It's certainly not marketed in Star Wars yet in this way, but I want to see if he comes up and says, or they, overall, like the team managing, the new comics and the creative process, they come up and say, well, we've actually started a roadmap for everything we're going to release, and here's what you can expect, and so and so and so and so. And I want to see if this has an effect on that. You know what I mean? No longer just sort of announcing new stuff coming out, new canon, whatever. Like more along the lines of, actually, so this is our direction now. And this is we want closure on this, and that, or we want to see a perspective where we see, for example, like giving here a hypothetical idea of, let's see Obi-Wan be a monk sort of thing, or see Darth Vader confront a different demon, or let's not have Darth Vader himself. Let's have Darth Sidious controlling other guys, and let's focus on this, or let's see the hero's up and coming story. You know what I mean? Like actual directions.
Oh yeah, and I think, with the High Republic, they set a precedent a little bit with High Republic, because they got all these authors in the same room together between the novels and the comics and everything like that, and really mapped out where the High Republic was going to end up going. And it shows. Because I know you haven't started High Republic stuff yet, but I think it shows that they really do have a plan with this era. And we're all sitting here going, wow, they're going to go back another 150 years. There's a plan. There's a plan, that they've set in motion with all of this. The fact that they did concept art for novels and everything like that is just, they're really building this era from the ground up. And now when you start listening to some of these authors and some of these writers who have really had a hand in that and making the comics as great as they are, and bringing, I shouldn't say bringing it to life because the character's already alive, but bringing to new mediums like comic books, like the Vader run with Charles Soule, with the Vader runs, awesome, absolutely awesome, and to bring book authors, because remember, he wrote Light of the Jedi also. He kicked off the High Republic. To have somebody like that become a creative consultant moving forward with a lot of stuff, it makes me happy. And it makes me really feel like they are starting to get it through their heads that if they listen to the majority of the fan base and not get, what's the word? How do I want to say this? I don't want to say get offended, but not look at the negative. I don't want to say attitudes. Don't look at the toxic guys. I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this. If they listen to the fan base, right, and not make things that we don't want, and actually listen, hey, they want this character, they love this character more, right?
Yeah, they analyze it more.
Then they can start doing stuff that really matters, and bringing good authors on like this as creative consultants is a great idea, in my opinion. So I'm really happy to see Charles Soule getting promoted. I'm still hoping to God that eventually we get Dave Filoni and a massive, I know he's already a creative consultant, but I mean like, in charge of something. We need a Kevin Feige for Star Wars the way Marvel has Kevin Feige. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you said, to put the roadmap together for everything. I think that would be absolutely awesome. And I look forward to see
we
what
want the Darth
what
Sidious of Star Wars. That's what we
Yes.
want. We want Darth Sidious of Lucasfilm.
Absolutely. And somebody who's got the long
Just
plan.
get Ian McDermott.
you know?
He's probably going to know how to do that. He's been practicing. He's been acting.
Execute issue 66. Release it.
Episode 66
And-
of the
and
Skywalker saga.
and
I'm
I-
going to come back again.
And I can already see it. The fans are going to start complaining about a movie that comes out, and he's just going to be sitting behind a desk going, good. Let the hate flow through you. So, but yeah, no, I think this is a good thing. It's cool to see that they're actually, that people are getting recognized for their hand in making some really good content, So, congratulations to Charles Soule. I'm really excited to see what he does moving forward. Let's talk about some Andor, Usif. This is a series that I know you're looking forward to just as much as I am. We finally had it confirmed that Andor will be getting 3 seasons. We thought it might have been 5, but they confirmed it's going to be 3. And that season 2 is going to be filming this fall. That early, Usif. It's already, we're just a few months away from them already filming season 2.
Exactly. They're going to have 2 seasons in the bag.
Yeah.
Like in their duffel bag, just ready to kapow, just ready to launch.
Oh, yeah.
And this is really exciting because we were following the news that they had finished and there was like on-screen shots released of, not on-screen, on-set shots released of the filming of season 1. And that was really cool for us to take a sneak peek at. But I'm really excited to hear that they're starting to work on season 2 to have that in. So they have the story. They know what they're doing.
Right. Yeah, and the fact that they have that much confidence in Andor, that they're already filming a season 2, and we don't even have a trailer for season 1 yet.
Season 1,
we don't even have a trailer yet.
Yeah.
And they've already scheduled season 2 to be filmed. So it shows a lot of confidence in their project moving forward. Andor is a series that I think a lot of people are sleeping on, but I am really excited for this series. And I think I said it last week when we talked about Andor a little bit, or maybe it was the episode before, how it's, I'm excited for it because it's going to show that gray area that the Rebel Alliance works in that we heard about in Rogue One. And we haven't.
We all did things. It was in that.
Yeah.
It was in that part. If anybody has missed this, it's in that part where Jyn Erso, after her big sort of confrontational speech with the leaders of the Rebel Alliance, and then she's like, you know what, screw this, F this, I'm gonna go out there and do it myself. then Andor's like, yeah, we're coming with you. And she's like, she looks at him, and he goes, we've all done things. And so in that scene, just before they go off and beat Rogue One, before they go off to the planet, and they go off to try to steal the archive and so on, but or hack into the archive. Yeah, it was awesome before they launched there. Great little snippet there, just telling us that these are rebels. They have done stuff. They've been spies. They've been behind enemy lines. They've been assassins. They've murdered. They've killed. They've snuck in. They've done things that they've done heavy shit. These guys have been at war, and this is a part of Star Wars which we can't wait to see. Right? Sure, we know there's a war on, but what about the real gritty stuff of the war? Espionage in Star Wars? Give me more of that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, there's several lines in Rogue One that really gets me excited for this. When he tells Jyn, he's like, suddenly this is real to you. I've been in this fight since I was 6 years old. And there's a lot of history there with him, because we found out later that he was on a separatist planet. He was on the side of the separatists during the Clone Wars. And there's so much potential there for storytelling with Andor, and obviously we know what his fate's going to end up being. But, we got a little bit of a taste of that kind of gray area at the beginning of Rogue One when he shoots his informant in the back, when he realizes he's not going to be able to climb out because he's got the broken arm. And he's like, oh, it's going to be all right. And, in the back, and then takes off. It was a cold mercy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so to see that in an entire series, and when you said the word espionage, please God, yes, this is going to be so awesome. And the fact that they've already planned 3 seasons for this thing, I can't wait for Andor. And to know that season 2 is going to be filming this fall, it really gets me excited. So, really excited for that. The next story I wanted to talk about is one that I think we kind of saw coming a little bit. I don't think we saw it coming as quickly as it did. But if you guys will remember back a couple of months, there was a screenshot, a leaked picture that was going around of, I believe, was it a hoodie or was it, I don't remember what it was. It was like a Christmas gift or something, I think, for some of the crew working on some of these different productions for Lucasfilm. And one of the pictures had a logo on it that said Tales of the Jedi. And we were all like, what is Tales of the Jedi? What is this going to be? Because this was, Tales of the Jedi was a comic, a graphic novel series, a comic series in Legends that really focused a lot on really, really ancient Old Republic stuff, Jedi and Sith. I mean, really deep Star Wars lore stuff, Force lore stuff. And this is going to be an animated anthology series, and this is something I'm excited for. And they just came out yesterday, I believe, saying that, or day before maybe, that this is what this was going to be, and that we're going to get our first look at it at Celebration coming up this quick. What do you think this series is going to be, Usif? Do you think this is going to be really, really Old Republic stuff, or do you think this is going to be something entirely new, something based off of that kind of title, or do you think it's going to be something like that or something completely new?
I'll say what I want to see. I don't know what I think it's going to be. I'm not sure if there's a specific direction. First off, I don't think it's going to be Legends. I think it's going to be mostly like sort of archival stuff of the Jedi. Do you know what I mean? Like sort of
right.
Stuff that we'd find in the Jedi archives, something in the library sections. You know what I mean? So whether it would be fables or they could be actual legends of Jedi masters in the past who have overcome certain challenges within their lives on their journey and through the learnings of the Force, or the teachings of the Force. I think that is potentially something really interesting for me to see. This is the Jedi philosophy, basically, because we haven't really seen too much of the Jedi religion. We've seen people represent it, and we've seen the struggle between the light and the dark and everything. But to actually see Jedi go through it and go through these learnings and go through these teachings, that'd be pretty cool. To hear these things, because this could be the chance for writers to come up with a sort of Bible, a sort of story, a sort of this is what the past, this is what they have done in the past Jedi, and this is how we know now to be wiser than so, or wise like him, or powerful like him. We must look beyond, whatever's in front of us, based on the teachings of Master so and so back when he was facing this sort of thing thousands of years ago, or whatever. Yeah, so this is what I think is going to happen. It would be like teachings and passed on through the generations, sort of thing.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, kind of like what Yoda was telling Luke: pass on what you've learned, that kind of thing.
Right.
I don't think this has anything to do with the comic series from Legends at all. I think people are getting excited because they think that's what it's going to be. Because in that series we had like Exar Kun get introduced, and things like that, and I don't think that's what that's going to be. We do know that there's an animated thing. We don't know what it is yet, but we know Anthony Daniels has been doing motion capture for something animated, probably the droid story. But there's been all these other things going on behind the scenes. There's been rumors that there was going to be an animated series about Luke and his Jedi school. You know what I mean? What, 2, 3, 4 years ago, 3 years ago?
I'd love that.
There
Yeah,
was
I
rumors going
really
around that
wanted
that's what it was going to be, and so we're going to find out at Celebration. But I this gets me really excited because, like you said, we haven't seen a whole lot of Jedi Sith stuff in canon lately. There's been a handful of it, but we haven't actually got to watch anything new that really focused on the Jedi. And I'm excited for this. I'm hoping, because they just came out with this, what was it called, the Galactic Pals animated micro short series for kids. I hope this isn't something that they're doing for the Star Wars Kids YouTube channel. And part of me is a little worried that it's going to be. But I'm hoping that it's not. I'm hoping that this is basically the next Star Wars Rebels. Don't get me wrong, not a sequel to Rebels, but it's the next big series that everybody really gets behind. The next series that I'm going to use one of my coined phrases, that's got the meat and potatoes of a story. You know what I mean? And so I'm hoping that that's what this is, and not just a little throwaway thing, kind of like what Star Wars Blips was. Forces of Destiny, kind of, and I'm hoping it's nothing like that. I'm hoping this is a proper weekly serial series, so time will tell. We'll find out next month. We're only, a month? Yeah, we're a month away from Celebration right now. It's going to be a long month waiting for a lot of this stuff. But like I said, time will tell. Before we get into the villain bracket, there was one other thing that I wanted to bring up and kind of get everybody's opinion on. I really wanted to get Usuf's opinion, and I'm interested in your opinion as well. There was an article that is going around. I don't want to say the name of the website that it's from. I don't want to call anybody out in case this turns out to be BS. But there is an article going around. Kirsty sent it to me yesterday. Kirsty's dad told me about it also, and started looking into it. And there's an article talking about there was a fan film that a group of fans were putting together called, what was it called? Let me find it real quick. I don't remember what the name of it was. Anyway, so they were doing a fan film, and they got Lars Mikkelsen involved with it. And for those of you who don't know, Lars Mikkelsen is the voice of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Rebels. A lot of speculation of him coming back for the Ahsoka series. His brother was Galen Erso. His brother played Galen Erso in Rogue One. But there's speculation now that because he played in this fan film, that it may have been a breach of contract, and that he may end up getting blackballed from being in Star Wars. And there's nothing official saying that he is. There's been no comment made on Disney's part yet. This is simply a speculation thing. This isn't even really, I wouldn't even put this in the realm of rumor. You know what I mean? It's just something interesting to kind of talk about. The name of the film was Shrouded Destiny. This article went on to say, I'm reading this right off this article. It says, Mikkelsen has recently starred on a voluntary basis in Shrouded Destiny, a fan-made and crowd-funded Star Wars series. With the Danish actor having been the favorite to bring Thrawn to live action due to his voiceover role as the villain in Rebels, it's possible his appearance as an unofficial Star Wars project it's possible his appearance in an unofficial Star Wars project sabotaged those chances. What do you think, Usuf? Because, like I said, I don't want to stir anything up. This isn't an official report. It's nothing that we need to be scared of, thinking, oh, crap, he's out. It's nothing like that. There's been no word whatsoever from Disney. I just want to put that out there. There's been no word. I'm not trying to come up with a scoop or trying to start the rumor mill or anything. This is already out. I just wanted to kind of talk about it and see what your thoughts were from the point of view of somebody who would love to see him come back as Thrawn again, obviously. Do you think this is a possibility, and do you think that it would be right if this did end up coming to fruition?
So we're talking here. I'd also like to mention this, like, on the whole. So when I'm addressing this, I'm addressing it in principle, not just for this specific actor slash voice actor slash Star Wars cast member, or even a writer, because this is the thing here. Firstly, on a personal level, I really don't think there's anything wrong with this. I don't think there's anything wrong with growing fan base and fan content. Disney's and Lucasfilm and any other franchise will not lose money. On the contrary, fan fiction, when it comes out, it's usually made in homage to the original. You know what I mean? To whatever it is that is existing. Even if you and I get together and decided to do a little bit of edit, like we were mentioning last weekend's episode about something that we wanted to see in the sequels that we'd rather have, it's still addressing the sequels. It's still talking about this content. And it's feedback, and it's talking about it because we love it. It's not talking about it because we hate it. Even if you hate it, well, I mean, you have to. It's still content. You're gonna love it. You're gonna have it. You're gonna hate it. The important thing is that you have it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Or that you go through it, or that you see it, and then you pay for it, or you live around it, and so on. The thing here, if I think it's likely that they might blackball him, blacklist him, whatever it is, shun him, stop him from producing new stuff or working on new stuff. Yeah, I think they might. I think they might because not because they're prejudiced or they're bad or anything, simply because it's a legal thing. You do not represent this show or this content in any way other than the way we tell you to.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the rules. And I understand why they would have these rules, and I just think that they ought to ease off on this kind of stuff. At least with different kinds of characters, man. I mean, if Rey, actress who did Rey, Daisy Ridley, came out and all of a sudden she was in a fan fiction film doing something, yeah, I completely understand them alienating her completely and then suing the shit out of her and doing stuff, because she's the face of an entire era within Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if she came out and all of a sudden was in a little fan fiction, coming here like to do a little piece of, let's say she was here in Egypt, for example, we brought over like a Star Destroyer up above the pyramids and stuff, and she went into the pyramid and she got like a pharaoh's thing, and she pulled out like an old artifact of some sort, and then she came out and used that to whatever. You know what I mean? Like, what if she did that and it was just complete fan fiction, just sort of a video project from a Star Wars fan for university or something, for a project? What if that happened? Well, it depends on how serious it is, but they definitely wouldn't like that because she's under heavy contracts.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. So is that the same for a voice actor? Potentially not. Potentially their contracts aren't really the same. Potentially their contracts are just, much lighter, not so heavy sort of thing in their commitment requirements and their, the fine print and stuff. And also, what about writers? What about directors? What about things like what about these people? Who does everybody have stuff that they need to stay away from now on in terms of Star Wars? In short, I think the answer is yes. I think that all these contracts are they've got clauses within clauses within clauses within clauses within clauses to just try to keep people, we're going to work on anything related to Star Wars unless it's through us. You know that, right? You're not going to work on anything that's potentially going to harm our view of Star Wars. Kind of like, I'm not saying about their own personal conduct. I'm talking strictly professional jobs, fan fiction, whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I think on whether or not they would do it. Whether or not they should do it, I mean, with a pinch of salt, guys. Like, seriously,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Don't go over. Yeah, don't go overboard. The guy, if he did do, well, I mean, if hopefully he is doing this fan film still, and he's going to be voicing or working as different characters, one of them would be reprising a sort of thing, because he is the impression of this awesome character which we want to see, who is a
Mm-hmm.
fantastic character within the series of Star Wars in general. Whether it's Rebels that you like him, whether it's in the novels, so you're hearing his voice from Rebels and you're living in the novels with his voice. You're living through the novel, excuse me, with his voice, you're going through it with the impression which he gives. He is embodying the character one way or another. Sure, he's a voice actor, so technically you can just change him with a snap of your fingers. But that's, I mean, I don't want to see that at all. Do you?
No, no, not at all. And I think it's worth noting too. This article doesn't say anything about what character he played in this
Yeah.
fan film.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he was playing Thrawn. It doesn't say anything about
I
him.
actually just assumed it might be Thrawn as well.
Yeah, and
that's
so I don't,
bad of
because
mine.
I was just looking through it, and it doesn't say anything in here about what kind of character he played in it. So if he's not, because here's the thing, if he played Thrawn, I can kind of get it. Like, if he was voicing Thrawn, because Disney knows that there's fan films out there. They know there's all of these fan-made projects that they just absolutely, that fans are making.
Exactly.
And there's nothing they can really do about a lot of them. Now, if he was just playing some random character, I don't think they have any right to feel a certain kind of way about that. They really can't dictate what he does in his spare time, to be completely honest. I mean, now, if it was a full-on production, I get it. But I don't see how this would be an issue. Now, like I said, if he's voicing Thrawn, then I get it. I get why they would be upset. But like I said, there's been no word whatsoever from Disney on any of this. I think this is just
And part of the deal,
speculation at this point.
I think part of the reason, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that I'm not very familiar with this kind of law or the motivation behind it, but they might be angst up about this because technically this is a method for him to also make money,
Right,
right? Like
right.
this fan film, I mean, if it is posted, even if it's not a big production, when it's on YouTube and it gets views and whatever, that's you could technically monetize that content, could you not?
Yeah,
I
I
know it's not that
don't
easy, but it's not difficult
know.
either.
I don't know if they could monetize
Yeah,
a fan
that's the
film or
question.
not. Because I know just from like my experience, right? Just because I've never made a fan film or anything like that, but just from my experience alone with Disney, when I was making the Star Wars Canon Library mobile app, I got a cease and desist letter from Disney over that.
Oh yeah,
And
I remember that.
and so I fought it, and I basically told them I'm not making a penny off of this thing right now.
Yeah.
There's going to be in-app content eventually, in-app purchases, but everything that you guys have, your entire IP is free on my app. Like anything that has to do whatsoever with your IP is free. It's my content that I was going to monetize. And they ended up coming back saying, even though we strongly disagree with you making this app and think it's inappropriate, there's nothing we can really do about it. That's basically what the gist of it was. And then I ended up not being able to afford the app anyway. So it was, just from and I just had a tiny app. I mean, I think we had 1,200 downloads at the time that I got the cease and desist letter. And so it wasn't that big of a deal yet. You know what I mean? And they caught it like that. And so I think if they were going to make a big deal about this, they'd have done it already. I think this may just be fan speculation at this point going, oh crap, please don't let us lose him, but I don't know. So guys, the reason I wanted to bring this up is let us know what you guys think about a situation like this. Do you think Disney should have the right to be able to say that he's not allowed to be in Star Wars fan films? Or do you think that they just need to butt out and just whatever he does? I understand that there's contractual obligations for these actors. I get it. And we don't know what's in his contract. But guys, do you think this is a big deal? Let us know in the comments of this podcast. We'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Let's move on. The villain bracket for this week. Usuf, explain to everybody a little bit about what this villain bracket is.
Yeah, sure. Personally, this idea came about because I really love the villain in any story, which or saga, which I look into or read or get to experience. And there's a lot of content out there, whether it's books, novels, in any genre, really. I think, personally, my favorite thing about any story would be the villain. not the hero, not the protagonist, but rather the antagonist. I think the greater the villain, the greater the antagonist, then the greater the story and the challenge that the protagonist or the hero has to face. And oh goodness me, if the villain actually succeeds or wins, this. For example, like if you're a Marvel fan, and you've seen Thanos, and at the end of Infinity War, he won, and I stepped out of that theater hearing everybody, most of the people around me and my friends going, I'm actually not mad at Thanos. Like he's a villain and he did something and that kind of thing. That's how a brilliant villain can be seen. And I fell in love with Star Wars because of the conniving, amazing thought and mastermind, the thought power of just how brilliant he was. Um, I'm talking, of course, about uh, Darth Sidious himself being the biggest, most impressive baddie which I've ever seen through episodes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then, so this idea came about that one of the ways which I wanted to get through into Star Wars deeper and deeper into the content, because I'm quite a latecomer when it comes to Star Wars. Definitely, in compared to Brian, and perhaps even to many of our followers and listeners. I'm still catching up with a lot of the novels. I'm still reading up on a lot of the comics, which I haven't even. There's so many different facts that are brilliant. Whether it's little tidbits like, well, I don't want to say anything here in case it ruins anything, but yeah, whether it's little tidbits about characters who were, let's say on Naboo protecting a certain queen, and then they ended up being a commander, admiral on a star destroyer later on in the Empire. Stuff like that. Whether it's that or actual important information on how the story moves forward and how the dynamics go. I only just finished Clone Wars this past started last year in the summer, and I finished it through fall, and I was just binging it. And I had an entirely different review, not only because I was watching it, forcefully, but also because the stories in there, the arcs were brilliant. They were just absolutely amazing. There were different villains popping up. There was different chemistry going on in between the characters. So, what is a great way for us to sort of get get your attention to look at different characters and the real backstories behind them and why they're important? We set up a list of villains, of notable villains in the Star Wars universe, and we're gonna pit them against each other, and you are gonna vote for who you think is the coolest. And that's the thing here, the coolest. Who do you like more? Who do you admire more? Not necessarily who the strongest is, not necessarily who would win in a fight, not necessarily who's had the most lore, who's had the coolest shots on camera. Whatever is cool to you, whatever you think makes that character best. So we've sorted them into categories. We've already started with a few. In case this is your first time listening here and you haven't been following us, we've done 5 so far, and the fifth one we're going to announce the results in just a bit. So we've decided them into categories. So first category, for example, would be Sith Lords, and then miscellaneous Force users. So miscellaneous Force users would be like Savage Opress, for example, Asajj Ventress, and Snoke. Actually, we have on here. We don't have him on as a Sith, and we'll discuss that once we get there. We've got another category, military figures, which is personally my favorite, actually. Bounty hunters, which we're on now, and we've already finished this last category, which is general assholes category. And we'll post a little post with a summary of like all the characters if you like, so we can have a little bit of an update this week. I can get on that post. It's pretty easy, just listing all the characters which we have so far, and who's won and who's come up against who and who's won so far. So we had general assholes, and the winners of that category were 3 different characters, and we'll have them come up again against different characters in different categories later on in other episodes once we're done with the brackets within each category. So Jabba the Hutt and Sebulba and Hondo came out of that category. And last week's episode, we saw Jango Fett beat out Zuckuss. So you see, if you actually read up on bounty hunters, and that's what got me down a rabbit hole, as I was mentioning earlier, I had to research who Zuckuss was. I hadn't even heard of it. I didn't even know who his name was. So when I was researching initially the names of the villains which we ought to have, and I saw Brian add in Zuckuss's name, I figured, oh wait, who's this? So I searched him up. I was like, whoa, this character is actually pretty cool. And then Boba Fett came up against Valance last week. And again, I was actually really surprised to hear Brian on last week's episode say he was really interested in Valance so much
I
that
was pulling for him, yeah.
he voted for him. And I figured, well, come on, nobody's going to vote for anyone against Boba Fett. He's just the coolest thing right now, isn't he? Well, no, he isn't, because you have to have your perspective on this. And it's just really cool to see this. And I get to read up so much more about these characters and see just how deep Star Wars lore actually goes. And Star Wars is such a huge, amount. There's episodes and there's comics and there's things, and they may not be shown in the best way. They're not so concise as other franchises out there. But that doesn't mean it's not there. So yeah, our favorite thing in the world, Star Wars. I am so happy to keep looking into it. It's not limited in any way. Yeah, and this just gets me excited. So I'm sorry about if I went a little bit too long there, Brian. But yeah, I think
Not at all. You're good.
I I think I'm good here for now talking about this, ranting about how much I love villains. Every episode is amazing. I could do this forever. And if you are interested in more villain stuff, and if you have a favorite villain in Star Wars in general, or in fact any other franchise which you think is worth any attention for us to look at, our attention to look at, please message us. Make sure that make sure that we're aware of this, because we'd like to talk about it in another episode or something. One of the reasons why we're mentioning other series is because we love them so much, and whether it's Marvel, whether it's Assassin's Creed, whether it's anything, yeah, a huge motivation of that is looking at the saga and that it's worth it. So yeah, so Brian, you want to let us know on who won
Yeah,
this week's bracket, and we can start the
absolutely.
new one.
Absolutely. So you guys voted. You guys were able to vote on YouTube on our community page. You're able to vote on our Facebook page. You were able to vote at Twitter. And actually, I've been forgetting to mention every week, but the poll is also on Spotify. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, scroll on down a little bit, and the poll will be available there as well. So it's the four places that you guys can go vote. And you guys spoke, and as much as I hate to admit it, Boba Fett won, and I get it, guys. I get it. I understand. Boba Fett's a badass. I get it. Um, I voted Valance, man. I couldn't help it. I love Valance as a character. He's so cool. And he's got a moral code. I guess Boba has a moral code too, but Valance's is like really front and center. I really liked his history and everything. But you guys spoke, and that's the important thing. Boba Fett won this round. So Boba Fett will be going on to go up against whoever wins in the next couple of brackets, and we'll see who ends up coming out on top. This week, though, we are going to pick right here on the air the next two, and you guys are going to find out with us what the next bracket's going to be. And
Spin the wheel.
spin the wheel. I've got the wheel pulled up. For those of you watching the video version, you can see I've actually got a real wheel pulled up. A couple of weeks ago, I thought it was funny because my father-in-law was in here talking to me while I was working on putting together everything for the episode. And he looked over and was like, "You have an actual wheel?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "I thought that was just a sound effect that you were adding into the show to make it sound like you were picking the character." I'm like, "No, we actually are randomly picking these guys." So for those of you who ever thought maybe we were just because we've had a couple of matchups that were like, "Wow, that's perfect." You know what I mean? Like those two really went well together. It was completely luck of the wheel. So we are going to tap this sucker, and we're going to see who the first bracket member is going to be this week, and it's looking like it's going to be IG-11 from The Mandalorian,
Nice, our first droid.
the caretaker droid. Yep. So we've got IG-11, and let's spin this again and see who and it's going to be crazy if this lands on IG-88 because you are kidding me. No, okay, it's going to pass him. So it looks like it's going to be Black Chrysanthemum.
No.
We've got IG-11 going up against Black Chrysanthemum. So you want to talk a little bit about IG-11 or Black Chrysanthemum, whichever one you want, and
I want to talk about
I'll
Black
take the other.
Chrysanthemum.
Go for it, brother. Go for it.
I was so excited to see him pop up in live action. Firstly, I love Wookiees. They are my spirit animal. It's just the way it is. Yeah, if I could, I don't think if I could, I'm big, 6'5", maybe 6'6", big guy, kind of hairy as well. But yeah, it comes with the area I'm from, I suppose, Middle Eastern and all that. Yeah, I've always loved Chewie, and then seeing Chewie free his fellow Wookiees in Solo, and when we went to the planet Kashyyyk in Jedi Fallen Order, and when I see other Wookiees throughout series, throughout different shows, throughout comic books, and even before reading, I still haven't read any High Republic stuff yet. I'm trying to get through a milestone, obviously, with other stuff that I'm reading, and then start High Republic properly and blaze through that. Yeah, I just love Wookiees. I love where they're from. I love how brilliant they are. I love the planet. I love how strong they are. I just love everything about it. The Black Chrysanthemum himself is cool. He's got. I'm gonna be super biased here. I don't want to go too deep on it because otherwise everybody's just gonna be like, oh yeah, we're just gonna vote for them. There's no point voting for them now because Yusuf's just gonna vote. But yeah, the thing is that droids are really cool as well. But Black Chrysanthemum, he was fighting for his life. He's a gladiator. What's cooler than a Wookiee? Well, a Wookiee gladiator. That's what's cooler. And then turns into a bounty hunter because that's earned his freedom and walked out that way. And maybe not even his freedom because actually he was working for the Hutts later on. Maybe not in slavery, but they sort of co-owned him or whatever the term is in Star Wars for whatever he was. But yes, on the other hand, we've got IG-11, who is a meticulously, very, very specially designed droid. So these guys, the assassin droid sort of thing. Wait, there's a technical term. What is that? I can't remember it right now. But yeah, so he shows up on Mandalorian on the show. He shows up actually, I think, in the first episode, doesn't he?
He
Chapter
does,
one,
yeah.
chapter two.
Yeah, very first episode.
Yeah, right off the bat from the first episode, and we see these like assassin droids come up. And this is the first time we've seen someone like him. And I know he was based like we see a similar droid in IG-88, don't we?
Right.
Earlier, yeah. So not in Mandalorian and other Star Wars. These guys are really resourceful, extremely smart strategists. Like they actually have a brilliant computer mind to assess situations and figure out, what is the next threat and try to eliminate that so they can solve the situation. They are also really quick to react. They've got weapons up the wazoo. They're really flexible. Yeah, I'm turning American, guys. Seriously, yeah, they're getting really flexible. Yeah, this droid, excuse me, sorry, is really flexible. He's got a different array of weapons and knows how to use them. It's just brilliant to see something like that show up. And honestly, if IG-11 had showed up against IG-88, we'd just be like, okay, cool. So we've got these two droids. Let's just choose one droid to be done with it. Actually, that's not a solution because these two droids are a little bit different because the versions.
They are. You're right.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really cool to see droids like IG-11. And I think this is actually different. I mean, I might be biased because I just love Wookiees no matter what. But IG-11 is really cool, especially when you follow his story. So his story doesn't end when he gets reprogrammed in Mandalorian. If you haven't seen Mandalorian, what are you
That's
doing?
right. Yeah, you're right.
Yes. So I mean, if you, I'm gonna mention something that's happened in Mandalorian at the end of the season here, when Mando is cornered, Din Djarin, he's sort of sacrificing himself. He's holding them off so that everybody else can escape, and then he's got IG-11 come back for him and help him. He says, I have to help you heal your wounds. You have to take off your helmet. He says, well, I'm forbidden to taking off my helmet to anyone. Well, you can take off your helmet because I'm not a person. So he does, and then IG-11 helps heal him and stuff, and he takes him down. And then IG-11 sacrifices himself by walking through, the trap at the end and helps them sort of navigate their way out of that tunnel where they're trapped by,
Right.
surrounded by the enemies. It's a really cool story. It really is.
Oh, the story of IG-11 is a tragedy.
Yeah,
it truly is.
Especially because droids, Star Wars in particular, Lucasfilm does a great job at making us like droids. Because this concept, right, that you're in the future, so droids become part of your life. We've started now with iPhones; they're with us everywhere. So we've perhaps Siri, and if you've played a game like Detroit Become Human. I was having this discussion with friends of mine, and potentially you can have discussion amongst yourselves. The whole point behind that story of Detroit Become Human is you are playing the android or the robot. There's no human factor there. It's all computers. It's all wires. Do they deserve rights or not? And because they actually do a revolution. So what if they can sort of think for themselves? What does that mean, think for themselves? If you write a code for them to think for themselves, and that means that they're just deciphering code, does that mean they're thinking for themselves or not? So these droids get characters. They have personalities because they have a will of their own to a certain level. And that in itself makes them incredibly cool. And then you add to it how important they are in each story. They can be funny. They can be awesome. K2SO he was one of the favorite
Oh
characters in
yeah.
Rogue One. Period.
Yeah.
Period. And he was a droid, and he saved them. And he was, that was a character technically with no soul because he was just a bunch of wires. Technically, he's not got his own free will because he was reprogrammed to fight for the rebellion, right? But we still think of him as a character. We still think of him as a person. We still think of him this way. BB-8, he doesn't even say a single word. I mean, R2-D2, he just keeps swearing and cussing every single second he gets. That's why he keeps getting beeps, right? So the thing is,
R2's got a potty mouth, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and we know he does, by the way, even later on behind the scenes stuff when we see him swearing off the cuff, everywhere. But yeah.
Real quick, how many times has he been called out on language? Like in A New Hope when 3PO says something, I'd rather be out there than stuck in here with you, and he beeps something, he's like, you watch your language. And then in Last Jedi, when he says something about the island, he's like, hey, Sacred Island, watch the language.
Hey, Sacred Island,
so yeah,
watch the language.
R2's got a mouth on him, so.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's the thing, these droids, man, they're making a case for themselves here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to see who's going to win this one, because both of these are actually characters that were introduced outside of the films. So Black K was actually introduced in the comics, IG-11 and Mando. So I'm excited to see how these two are going to go up, how they're going to fare against each other. Personally, if I had to vote, I'm going Black K. I'm going to vote Black Chrysanthemum because when he popped up in Book of Boba Fett, you could ask, I lost my mind. I was like, you are shitting me right now.
Absolutely brilliant. And his entrance was
it was gorgeous.
Well.
Yeah, it was so well done. And so, and the thing is, I knew who it was before it even showed his face. As soon as it showed his back, I was like, no way.
Nice.
And yes, that's awesome. So I'm excited to see who you guys are going to vote for on this one. And we'll read the results on next week's episode. So right now, as you guys are listening to this, you can head over to our Facebook page, our Twitter page, and the YouTube channel on the community page. All the links for those will be in the description of this podcast. Head over there, vote right now. If you're listening to this podcast on Spotify, scroll on down a little bit, and you'll see the poll right there you guys can vote on. So we will read the results on next week's episode, and we'll pick the next two. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to go. Let's get into some mailbag questions, Yusuf. We've got 3 of them picked out this week, and I think we've got some really good questions lined up. How do you guys get a question on the Star Wars Canon Podcast? It's very easy. You simply email us at starwarscanonpodcast@gmail.com, or you can visit us at 1138productions.com/contact. That's our contact page. You can send in a question there as well. Just make sure you add your name and your email address. That way we can actually read your name on the air. We've had a couple of times where people have sent in their email with no name, and we just kind of had to go based off of context and kind of a little bit. I'm never going to read your email address on air, but enough of it that way you know who you were. So make sure you add your name on there, and I can give you credit for the question. This week we've got 3 really good questions, and let's just jump right into them. What do you think?
Yeah. Let's do it. We've got really good questions.
We do.
Love hearing questions, guys. We genuinely build most of our shows off the fact that we want to hear what people have to say about this, because everybody's got a different opinion. And I know, there's been questions on here when I've never thought about this question before, not even from that angle. So yeah, let's hit us with the first one.
All right. First question this week comes from Tabitha Bringer. And Tabitha writes in and says, hey, Brian, longtime fan of your podcast and channel. Wish you had more subscribers. Keep up the great work. Thanks for the kind words. As far as the subscriber thing goes, real quick, there's a saying that, it doesn't matter how many followers you have. Hitler had 4 million. Jesus had 12. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really matter how many followers you have. It's that, that you guys are here. You guys are what make this what it is. So thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate it, Tabitha. Tabitha goes on to say, the last couple of episodes, you've made it pretty clear how you feel about the sequel trilogy. While I don't disagree with you, I was wondering if there was anything in the sequel trilogy you did like or that you thought did work. May the Force be with you always. Thanks for the question, Tabitha. Basically, she's tired of hearing me complain about the sequels, and she's making me say something nice about them. Which I get. I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
More you, because I was defending the sequel trilogy just a little bit last time, and maybe the times before that.
You were the opposite end of the spectrum, right?
I try to be a less not bashing, because you don't bash the sequels. You just plainly say what you see.
I just bash Ray. Yeah.
Yeah, no. And I understand completely where you're coming from, because you also build your argument. But yeah, I mean, you were also mentioning a few things that you found okay in sequel trilogy last week. You didn't go into them too much, but yeah, I'd like to actually hear this. What you actually liked. I talked a lot about what I liked last time, but yeah, I want to hear from you.
So one of the things that I really do like about the sequels, and I think you're really gonna like this. I really like Kylo Ren as a character, and the reason why I like Kylo Ren as a character is because of something that he says in The Force Awakens, the first film we're introduced to him in, where he says, I feel the pull to the light again. I will not be seduced by the light side of the Force. That is something we'd never heard of before. And, somebody who wanted to be, yeah, exactly. That is somebody who wanted to do bad, but he still felt that natural pull to the light. Kind of like Anakin was the complete opposite. He wanted to be the most powerful Jedi. He wanted to be good, but he always had that pull to the dark. So he was kind of the opposite side of the coin as Anakin. He was the complete opposite. He wanted so much to be Vader that he was being the complete opposite of Vader. No matter what he did, he was just the complete polar opposite. And I really liked that in a character. That was a dynamic we'd never seen before. And Kylo Ren is an amazing character. I don't care, I don't like the sequel films at all as a trilogy, but if you're sitting down and talking about characters, I really liked Kylo Ren as a character, and I think he got the raw deal with being in the films that he was,
Oh yeah.
And another thing I liked about the sequel films, I think I mentioned this on last week's episode, was the cinematography of the films. They're gorgeous films. You can say whatever you want about The Last Jedi, how they treated Luke Skywalker. You can bash Kathleen Kennedy, whatever, but you have to admit those films are gorgeous. And just, can you imagine the original trilogy films with that kind of, that kind of scenery?
The kind of production.
Yeah, exactly. And it just absolutely gorgeous film. So you have to give them that. So yeah, I'll sit here and say something nice about the sequel films. I'm not going to sit here and bash them horribly. I do point out more of the negative stuff in the sequels. I do know I'm guilty of that, and I try not to be that kind of fan. But I like I said, I'll give credit where credit is due. I think they were, and look, The Force Awakens, when it first came out, I really did like it. Yes, it was a safe Star Wars film. Basically, it was Disney showing, hey, look, we're going to be doing Star Wars now. It's in good hands. You don't have to worry about it. We know what we're doing. And yes, it was a very safe film. But it kind of showed that they were trying to capture the heart of it again. And like I said, it derailed somewhere. So at least in my opinion. But I'll say something nice about him. I'll say that. Kylo Ren, to me, is the saving grace of the sequel films. So yeah, I hope that answers your question, Tabitha. And yeah, Usuf, you don't really bash on him as much as I do. And I don't.
Well,
like I said, I don't mean to bash on him.
Because of there's a question that comes in later, and I'm gonna rip into it. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna do a little more sequel bashing here in just a minute.
Stay tuned, Tabitha.
Stay tuned. It's gonna be a good one. So thanks for the question, Tabitha. Thank you for sending it in. Thank you for being a listener. Glad to have you along, and we
hope you always stay in touch.
Absolutely. So let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2 this week comes from Kyle Renner, and Kyle writes in saying, something that's always bothered me in Star Wars was Leia wearing a homemade dress in Return of the Jedi. Where on earth did the Ewoks get that dress? Love your show. Thanks for the question, Kyle. This is an interesting question. I hadn't really thought about this before. Where did the Ewoks get this dress that just magically fit Leia? There's 2 options here, and there's nothing in between. There's only 2 options. Either they made the dress specifically for her in a very short amount of time.
On the fly, man. On
Yeah.
the fly. Yeah.
Or, and here's the one that I think makes more sense. They ate a woman somewhere down the line that was Leia's size, and they just kept her clothes. Those are the only two options that make sense to me. And I'm leaning more towards they ate a woman that was the same size as Leia. We know
maybe
they're vicious little bastards.
Maybe she died somewhere. Maybe she crash landed. They don't have to have eaten the woman.
They found her and was like,
Going all
"Ooh,
wrong
let's
on
just
the
take her
fly.
dress and leave her naked body here." Yeah, no, I don't think so, man.
Going all shipwrecked pirates and Lord of the Flies on us all. This got dark really fast.
It did.
Guys.
It got dark really fast. That's the direction I'm leaning, because think about it. The Ewoks were vicious. What were they going to do to Han and Luke and Chewie? They had them tied up, getting ready to barbecue them alive. Alive. They weren't even going to kill them first. They weren't going to bleed them out. They were just going to do it alive. You can't tell me they'd never eaten a human before. They had a taste for human meat, and they were like, ooh, we've got two of them and a Wookiee? Hell to the yeah, let's do this. Like, they have eaten human meat before. And then, think about this a little bit further. The end of Return of the Jedi, when they're all celebrating, and the Ewoks are banging on the helmets of the stormtroopers as drums. How do we not know their heads were not still in there? They were using the heads of their fallen enemies as drums. You know what I mean? Like, they are vicious little bastards. People don't seem to think about the Ewoks. They think they're teddy bears. In Star Wars, they were going to straight barbecue alive. Can you imagine the smell of barbecuing two humans and a Wookiee? Like, they were going to do it. So I fully believe that they cooked. Of course, damn it. Now I'm playing devil's advocate because they were going to barbecue them with their clothes on. I don't know. What do you think, Usif? I don't know what to think.
I mean, certainly your guess is as good as mine, because this isn't strictly explained anywhere.
It never is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a dress that's there. It's it could be from someone who crash landed. They could have eaten someone, the poor woman. They could have done it on the fly. We'd like to assume that it was the latter, right? But I mean,
but see, then it begs the question. Then it begs this question: Why did they accept Leia and make a dress for her and help her braid her hair and get her looking like Jungle Queen princess? But then the other was rolling. They're like, yeah, we're just gonna cook them. Fuck it. we don't need. We're not gonna make clothes for them. Like, screw that. We're just gonna cook them alive. Like, so I feel like they kept Leia around because they were like, hey, let's keep her because she reminds us of this other person that used to live here, and we still have her clothes, and I bet they would fit her. Let's let her stay. And then the other ones, they were like, intruders. We must eat them. We're hungry. We must feed our new guest. Like, it's just. Can you imagine if the Ewoks actually had cooked Han and Luke and Chewie and Leia didn't know about it, and then they just bring meat to Leia and she's just like, oh yeah, thank you, and she starts eating everybody. It would have gotten so dark so fast. I don't know. It's a good question because now it's going to bother me every time I watch Return of the Jedi. I have no idea where that dress came from. None. So there's nothing in canon, Kyle, that tells what that where that dress came from or its history or anything. So your guess is as good as mine. Guys, what do you think? Let us know in the comments. I'd love to hear everybody else's opinions about this as well. Where did that dress come from? And did the person who used to wear it get ingested by Ewoks? Let us know. I'd love to know. And let's move on to question number 3. This will be let's leave the dark stuff kind of behind, and we'll get a little bit more on some of the sequel bashing. Right. Jessica Rice has sent in a question, and Jessica says, hello there, Usif and Brian. I love you guys. You two are truly a force for positive vibes in the fandom, and we need more of that. Thanks for the kind words, Jessica. We do try here at the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Jessica goes on to say, what are your thoughts on the dagger and the Rise of Skywalker? Personally, I thought it was stupid that a dagger that was 1,000 years old had a perfect cutout of the Death Star wreckage that just magically lined up with where they were standing on the cliffside. But maybe I'm wrong. Thoughts? Thanks for the question, Jessica. Usif, let's hear your thoughts on this, man.
Well, so here's the thing. I read this question a couple of hours ago, and since then I've been really thinking about it because it was something that completely turned me off when I'll speak for myself here, completely turned me off when I was watching the thing, and I was really trying to look past it because so this concept, right? The concept that there is an item in any story, right? Whether it's a Star Wars story or any other story, the concept that there's this item, the sole purpose of this item is to move the story along. So you insert this item, and this item you give it some importance. It's transitional. It's not a heroic item. It's just something to get you from point A to point B to point C, and then back to point A, so you could realize that the real target is at point, X, Y, Z. So we see this many times. The terms for it can be friendly, fun name sort of thing as a goober. If you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, sorry, excuse me, not into, oh yeah, Into the Spider-Verse,
Yeah, that's right.
and
Yeah.
then or a MacGuffin. Now the thing is that actually Star Wars has arguably the most iconic MacGuffin slash goober slash transitional item ever in A New Hope, the video recording, which and the plans of the Death Star, which are carried, obviously from that mission from Rogue One, and then they're carried from to safety, and then eventually into the hands of Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then they take that to the rebels and so on, because Leia tries to sort of sneak those away. Now, the thing is that this item is not that. So we do get this kind of item in the sequel trilogy, obviously in Episode 7, when there's an item, which BB-8 is carrying, and which he encounters Rey and Finn, because Poe was securing this item, because it leads them to Luke Skywalker, the map, part of the map, which leads them to Luke Skywalker, and the rest of the map is on R2-D2. Now, the thing is, with this item, you're talking about the Sith dagger. I'll talk about not just this item, but there's another item in the same film, in Rise of Skywalker, which is also treated in the same way. So initially, we start Rise of Skywalker by seeing a Sith Wayfinder. So the point of this Sith, and I'll speak about both because they're sort of intertwined, and you can see the differences between both and why they're used. And the Sith Wayfinders, there's only two of them. Only two remained, right? One of them was and they both led. The point of the Sith Wayfinder was to lead to Exegol, which is a very sacred Sith planet and very important because it was important in the plans of Darth Sidious. One of them was with Darth Sidious on board the second Death Star, right? And then the other one was in possession of Darth Vader on Mustafar. Okay, that's where we see the start of Rise of Skywalker, when we see Kylo Ren battling his way in Mustafar. We're not sure who he's battling or why. It just looks cool. But he finds the Sith Wayfinder, and that leads him to Exegol. It's got the coordinates on there, and I've got a problem with this right off the bat. And it's the fact that this Sith Wayfinder, it leads him to Exegol, not by opening it in a specific way or speaking a Sith language. We see him plugging it into his, not sure what his, I'm not sure if he was flying an X-Wing or what he was, excuse me, not an X-Wing, TIE Fighter or what he was flying, or his Interceptor or something. He just plugs it into his computer. So that leads, it begs the question, can anybody just pick this up and use it? Or is it like specific to a Force user? Well, the thing is that I think what happened was it leads him to the coordinates of the red cloud, before Exegol, and that's really hard to navigate. So he uses potentially the Force and his super amazing flying skills, which he's inherited through his bloodline and through the fact that he is very strong with the Force, Kylo Ren, Ben Solo. So he can navigate this harsh, climate, and then go in there himself and find what he's looking for, which is, you all know the rest. Later on, this same item, right? Rey is trying to look for the Sith Wayfinder on the second Death Star, right, which has crashed on the planet with I can't remember the name of the planet right this second, but it's the planet with the huge,
Kef Burr, or something like that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. The one which she lands with Poe and Finn on, or Finn at least, and then they go and there's like really rough seas, and she used this sort of like little dune wave rider or whatever it is, a broken wave runner thing, and she goes up there and she finds it. So obviously she doesn't find it before first using the Sith, the Sith dagger. Now the dagger, here's where this comes into play, sort of. they add this sort of cool-ish character. He's a Sith assassin. Can't remember his name as well. Sorry for the moment at the time being. I haven't done my research correctly. But the thing is that they just add the character as a Sith assassin to say, well, this is a cool item. So it adds a shroud of mystery. Now that's the first thing it does. But where does this dagger come from? We don't know. Where does it actually come from? Is it made really far back? Well, here's the thing. If it actually points and it's used as a map or a directional assistance for finding the Death Star or for simulating finding the Death Star, not only does it have to have been made after the second Death Star is built,
Right.
but it also has to point specifically to a very specific part of the Death Star. When you look at it from a certain angle, this is just weird.
Yeah.
This is just really, really, really weird because we don't know where it's made. I don't know. Was this the dagger that was used to kill Rey's parents or
Yes.
something?
Yes, it was.
Yes,
so
exactly.
the only thing that I'm pretty sure, actually, I think they might have explained some of this somewhere in a visual dictionary. So the Sith dagger, it was actually called the blade of Ochi, a blade of Ochi of Bastoon, which was Ochi, right?
Ochi is the Sith assassin.
Right, Ochi
yeah,
is the Sith assassin. So it belonged to him. It was the blade that was used to kill Rey's parents. So because of everything that he did with it, I guess it imbued it with very strong dark side energy. I'm kind of looking some stuff up on the dagger right now. It says date created for ABY. So that means it was created around the time of Return of the Jedi. So it had to have been made immediately after the Death Star, right? We may get, look, we may get all these answers in the upcoming novel, The Shadow of the Sith. We might get every one of these answers, right? But we don't know who carved the knife. But if it was created after the destruction of the Death Star, it kind of explains why it was carved to match up with the wreckage. As far as the inscription on it goes, if you remember, didn't 3PO, when he translated it, didn't he give coordinates of where you were supposed to stand? When he had, the red eyes and everything.
Okay.
I think he gave coordinates on where he was supposed to stand on a moon in the Andor system. I remember him saying that. And then I think he gave some coordinates. So I think they had to be standing in that one spot for it to work. And then held it up and kind of figured it out.
Who put it there? Was it at the behest
I don't know.
of Palpatine?
I don't know.
Was that so? Yeah, exactly. So was it encoded? This is my point, right? So if it was created later on, and it exactly is. It's decoded by C-3PO in that scene where he has the Sith language, but he's been programmed to not say it. So he has to sort of they have to bypass that sort of thing in his program. But anyway.
Oh, I found the inscription.
Okay.
The translated inscription. It says, oh, hang on a second. I lost it. Here it is. The Emperor's Wayfinder is in the Imperial Vault at Delta 36, Transient 936, bearing 32, on a moon in the Endor system. From the southern shore, only this blade tells. So it was inscribed with the coordinates of where they had to stand for that dagger to make any sense. And 3PO was able to translate that from Sith. So
the only way I think that
Yeah.
this would actually, the only way that would make sense is that somebody specifically wrote that on there. And
Right.
who else would do that other than Palpatine?
Right.
Right. And
But the thing is,
Darth Sidious.
Palpatine was quote unquote dead at that point when this thing was created because his body was already on Exegol. And he wasn't on the moon in the Endor system to know exactly where that wreckage landed. You know what I'm saying? So
Exactly.
I don't know
exactly
who
what you're
created
saying.
this stupid thing.
And who wrote that code on it?
Because if Ancient
somebody's
Sith
trying to give a hint somewhere.
Yeah, if Ancient
is it?
Sith was banned by the Republic laws and 3PO didn't even have it, then who wrote it? And I mean, Ochi's got a history of hanging out with Darth Vader, right, in the comics.
Right.
And he was a very strong supporter of the Sith. So I don't know.
So here's the only suspects I can seem to think of would be Ochi, firstly.
Right.
The Sith minions that were on the planet, if you remember, there was
the
this
Eternals,
auditorium
yeah.
full of the Eternals. There's them. There's also the dude who I can't remember his name for the life of me now. I'm sorry, I'm dropping names. I'm really tired. But yeah, the thing is that the general that in Rise of Skywalker, he comes up and he's working for. He's clearly an inside guy for Palpatine, and he's on with the First Order, and he's always challenging Hux's authority and things like that.
Right.
Yeah, him. So he could be that guy. But I mean, who else would do this? Who else would do this? If this was made by Sith, then clearly the point behind it was, okay, so let's do this because sometime, someday, someone will be able to, someone who reads Sith language, which is not common, not often, not ever,
Right.
would be able to look at this, pick it up, and it would fall into his hands, and they would go to this place and they would read it. And if Ochi, used it to kill someone very important for Darth Sidious and Palpatine, and he did that on purpose, and he was also sent to find Rey. And bring her back, but he clearly failed in his mission.
Right.
If he was supposed to do that, then maybe he was the one who wrote the inscription, who wrote the code, just in case it fell into the wrong hands, or he was supposed to give this to Rey, and she would have to figure the journey out on her own or something.
It's possible.
I know it's a stretch. I am stabbing in the dark here. I don't have an answer.
me
I'm
neither.
just trying to.
Not yet,
and this
anyway.
is something which not yet anyway, but this is something which I really dislike about the movie. This is why, about this movie,
Agreed.
The writing and the events of this movie, why is this so shrouded in mystery? Why are we suddenly getting this little piece of a USB or a sort of weird item that sort of just fell into our lap and we don't know where it came from? And all of a sudden, it's just there leading us into the climax of something.
Oh, you mean like
And
Luke's
then-
lightsaber? How it just popped up out of nowhere.
Another goober. There we go, or something like that. I mean, it's not necessarily goober, but yeah, it is something like that. Yeah.
This goes on to say there was more to the inscription, and not just because there was it says Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, the Visual Dictionary. The full translation was finally revealed. It actually goes on to say, and it was in Sith. It said reanimate the dead Sith overlord on Exegol. He is the Eternal One. So whoever made this thing knew Palpatine was on Exegol, could inscribe Sith. I hope we get an answer on where this dagger came from in Shadow of the Sith. And we probably will. But I'm with you, because this dagger thing was just stupid to me.
It's not just the dagger,
so
the dagger
stupid.
and the Wayfinder.
Yeah.
It's both, because really the dagger and the Wayfinder, and another thing which pisses me off about the relationship between the dagger and the Wayfinder. You realize this? The relationship between the dagger and the
Right.
Wayfinder is that this is supposed to be difficult. Right?
Yeah.
It's supposed to be special.
Yeah,
It's supposed to
exactly.
be difficult. It just isn't. And if it was difficult to get to Exegol in the first place, when Rey goes off to Exegol, she is followed then by the rest of the fleet.
Yeah, she was
Right.
dropping.
And
She was dropping the beacons.
The signals, the beacons,
Yeah.
yeah. So then all of a sudden, that's easy now. Okay.
Yeah,
So that's
and then
easy. So
and
then
then
the
all
whole
of a
point
sudden,
Wayfinder
the
is
entire
useless.
galaxy shows up to Exegol. Like all of a sudden,
Exactly.
everybody just figured out how to navigate red space and got there. Yeah.
Everybody showed up for that fight.
Yeah.
Everybody showed up for that fight. So what was the point of that?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
And then
know.
here's
And
another
then-
question: why did the Sith dagger only point towards Sidious's Wayfinder when Vader's was on Mustafar? Why was there a dagger pointing to Vader's? I mean, it's just
Crickets.
it doesn't make any sense. Like the whole idea, I get it.
No,
it was a
it doesn't
plot
make any sense.
device. That's all it was. That Sith dagger was just a
Yeah,
plot
it's a
device.
plot device. That is
Because
the term we should
after it
use.
was
Yeah.
used, you never saw it again.
Exactly.
You never saw
exactly.
it again.
That is the point. That is the
Yeah.
point of these plot devices, right? They don't carry story significance.
They don't.
They're
Yeah.
just there for transitions. Once the transition is done, once you've looked left and then all of a sudden you've looked right, so you're no longer looking back there. Done. That item is no longer important. Does
Yep.
not carry that much significance. That's that, right? You can throw that away. It's basically trash.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
Wayfinder is
basically.
trash. The whole dagger thing is trash. So long as you're, ooh, look at that. It's circular and the curvature, and then you look
Yeah.
through it at the thing, and then it's in that chamber, and then she goes up there and she finds the chamber inside Palpatine's chambers, and then
Like I thought
boom,
she was
and
gonna find
throw it.
One-Eyed Willie's treasure with that stupid thing. I just,
So where's Waldo?
Yeah.
Where's Waldo? in it?
and honest to God, after she figured out where it was, held it up and figured out where it was, she could have chucked it into the ocean, and it wouldn't have mattered a lick of cent. Like, never. Nobody would have ever found it again, you know? And it's just, I don't know. And then she's able to pick it up, and she's like, horrible things have happened with this blade. Well, yeah. What about the lightsaber that's on your belt? Did you get any feelings when you touched that? Like, younglings getting freaking slaughtered? Like, you didn't catch anything on the youngling slaughter? Like, I don't know. There's just so much around the dagger that it didn't make any, I mean, it made sense. Don't get me wrong. It made sense. But it was there when it was needed, and then once it was used, it was gone, and it was completely useless after that.
And we don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
We don't know why.
Anyway.
Excuse me, not why, but how. Well, not yet anyway, but I mean how it was, how it was inscribed by who.
And then here's another
if it
question.
was really for this purpose. Then,
here's another question.
Yeah.
Why?
Shoot.
Why would there be, why would there be a dagger, right, leading, like you said, it was so easy. Why would there be a dagger leading somebody to it? And if it was a reminder for Palpatine, he already knew where it was. He was in the vault, right?
Oh no, it wasn't a reminder for sure. It wasn't that.
Yeah, so it had to be there to lead somebody to it.
He already knew where it was.
Yeah.
It was Palpatine, so frick it. You know.
So if Palpatine made that dagger, that means he had to have stood on that shore at some point, saw the shape of the wreckage, made the dagger, inscribed the dagger, went back to Exegol, gave it to Ochi, and was like, "Hey, I was just there, but you go get it." You know,
imagine
it doesn't make any sense.
Imagine, if you will, he's transferred his soul into his vat of acid, where the body, or his vat of whatever juices that his body is being recreated in on Exegol, and he's deploying his minions, and he's saying, you need to inscribe this into the dagger, and you need to tell someone one day what they would need to hear. And he's just preparing, because he's 50 steps ahead of you.
Yeah.
He's 50 steps ahead of no matter what you do. Yeah, but no, this is just really weird. Really, really weird, because we still don't know why it's there. This is a really good, important question, because it not only tackles a specific item, which is weird as hell, but it also talks about this whole concept. If we do see these items, they're troublemakers, these items.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Unless you get like a brilliant big story behind it. Rogue One was literally made for the entire goober that was in A New Hope.
It was the final goal, yeah.
Right? And that was absolutely brilliant, because that was important. So how did they get this? Oh, no, we're going to turn this into a big, huge, brilliant story. And they did, and it was worth it, and it was absolutely amazing. It's added dimensions to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It is. It's added viewpoints and a dimension to it. And the characters and everything. All of the characters which we see from, director Krennic, who is really cool, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Back to that cool ranking and the villains and stuff. But yeah, he's... if you look at these characters and look at the story behind it, that makes sense. That goober completely. You see where it's come from, why it's there, and it's completely plausible. A big empire like that, architectural plans, stealing it, moving it from one place to another. The droid, he's trying to go. He's finding Kenobi, and he finds him. Boom, bing, bang, boom. Yeah. Of course, it's amazing, happening by chance and everything, just a little bit. But you need a little bit of chance for a good story, don't you? But yeah, this is not chance. This is just question mark after question mark after question mark in Rise of Skywalker over here. I mean, we don't even get this obviously we do get this in the sequel trilogy in the first movie. These are, the main two, which I had mentioned, obviously the map of Luke Skywalker. We don't know exactly how it ended up in the old man's, I call him the old man affectionately. I don't mean to be insulting.
Oh, and Lorsan Tekka. Lorsan Tekka's.
Yeah, Lorsan Tekka.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. It ends up in his hands because he understands the importance of it, and he shares it. He wants to share it with Leia, because he's like, well, we need him. We need Luke, so we can't just let him sit idly by, sort of thing. We need him back in the fight.
Yeah.
And that's his plea. So yeah, we get that. The lightsaber all of a sudden falling into Rey's hands and Maz Kanata bringing it out. How did it get to Maz Kanata? That is a story for another time. Okay, Lupita Nyong'o.
Well, that story's kind of been teased to us too, because they've kind of showed that somebody got their hands on it, but they haven't really followed it since then. So yeah, no, it's just I don't know. I was never a fan of the dagger. It just didn't make any sense to me at all. So yeah, but I get what they were kind of going for, and it fell flat. It was just one of the things is when George Lucas did Star Wars, right? He always did a why. Everything.
Oh yeah.
every character had a name. You know what I mean? Every action figure had a name. Ponda Baba had a name. He had 2 lines. They weren't even English. You know what I mean? Like, every single character had a name. Everybody had a reason for being there. And then now we have things that there's no reason for it to be there whatsoever. And they left all these holes. And I don't want to call them plot holes because they're not really plot holes, but they're just missing plot. You know, there's missing
holes.
detail.
Yeah.
That you should be able to watch Rise of Skywalker and know exactly what's going on without having to read a book, without having to look at a visual dictionary, without reading a comic book. You should be able to know exactly what's going on, and then everything else be built off around that. You know,
exactly.
to
and if
enhance
there is
it.
something missing, you ought to be able to go back
You
and
should.
see it in the other films, not be left wondering what the heck.
Exactly. They should. You should be able to watch all 3 films as a trilogy. Know exactly what's going on, have every detail of everything, know exactly what's going on, and then go, oh, I want to read this comic book and this novel also to add more story to it, not fill in details that we should have gotten in the film, you know? So, the dagger pissed me off too, and it's always bothered me, and
I want to add something here a little bit.
Go for it, yeah.
I think it's along the lines of the same point which we were discussing. You know, it adds to our talk, I suppose. When I look through Star Wars videos in general online and other people's opinions and fan quotes and Q&As and things like that, I saw a thing about, somebody was bashing J.J. Abrams for not caring about Clone Wars, not caring about, the sacrifice of Vader, for not caring about anything really in Star Wars or even Force Ghosts or anything. Well, let me just say something about that. I'm not necessarily going to defend the guy because I don't know the guy and I don't know much about anything and I don't know much about the mission that was given to him. But it's clear that it wasn't in his hands. He was given a task. And sure, he might have a certain amount of free reign to do his task because that was what happened in Star Wars. The director gets the reins to write stuff as well. And don't forget that he brought in George Lucas as a sort of consultant. He was asking him questions. He was like, help me. Like, I'm in a rut here. I'm stuck. This is what I felt happened as well. It's clear that, he brought him in because, firstly, nobody's handled Palpatine except George Lucas. So why don't you help us out here?
Right.
But at the same time, okay, here's what I've been tasked with. How the F do I get out of this? How the F do I make this work? How do I put this? How do I push that? How do I do this, and that? He's gotta do something here, and he doesn't have much tools to do it. So he can really make it difficult for himself and try working with what he's got and then turn that into a different story. Or he can just sort of give himself the tools right then and there. And this is what he's done with these 2 goobers, with these 2 MacGuffins, with these 2 things here. Now, I don't like it, but I think he knows that, well, that's not going to be my problem.
Right.
I don't mean this in a bad way. I'm not saying like, well, not my job. I don't think this is it. What I think it is, this can be fixed in a certain way. Yeah, we're going to add enough backstory for it to just be sounding off. Because other people, you can tell, by the way, you asking this question about the dagger, you can tell that not only are you a Star Wars fan, but you're a movie fan. You know what I mean? You are a story fan. You're a fan of a good story. You're a fan. You're a fan of plots. You've read into this, Jessica. You've seen other items and you thought, well, that makes sense, but this doesn't. So if you really want to think about why they did it, obviously that's the why. The writing and the political. I don't mean political as in actual politics. I mean the political position which Lucasfilm was in and the business position they were in. And they were afraid of the backlash, and they didn't want to cause too much controversy. So they were like, let's change shit back to the way it was. We need J.J. Abrams, we need to save face. Not we need a home run. We need to save face.
Right.
And that's a completely different approach.
Yeah.
And obviously, Star Wars is the worst because of it. This was me not necessarily bashing, but definitely not happy with anything that was going on in Rise of Skywalker in this respect.
Right.
I still find stuff that I like in the story. I still appreciate Kylo Ren turning back to the light side, even though I would have loved to see some more commitment, as I mentioned on last week's show. Listen to last week's show if you haven't, because you'll hear some stuff which we mentioned about what we think should have happened and what we think could have happened to change stuff around. Oh, by the way, I wanted to add this, but I'm glad I had it written down here, and I was just holding my notebook, and all of a sudden it fell on my hand, and I literally just saw me right at this point. I was going to forget it completely. How I think, now that we've said why it doesn't make sense, how we think it ought to have made sense. I think if your idea, which you had mentioned last week, which is genius, by the way, of having the Return of Palpatine
Oh,
teased or
be at
announced
the end of
at the
Last
end of
Jedi.
Last
Yeah.
Jedi. If Palpatine reaches out, that conniving, sneaky little MFer, if he, this amazing Dark Lord, if he reaches out through the Force and plants an idea or the message in Rey's head or Kylo Ren's head, depending on whichever direction sort of thing. If we're keeping with the same direction, then Rey, because he wants Rey.
Right.
Doesn't actually. He wants Kylo Ren to get him Rey, to bring him Rey. You know what I mean? Because she's important. If he plants that and then he sends Oshi, or potentially sends it to her himself by any means, sort of thing, that would then not only show that there's a relationship there between where the dagger came from, but also why it's important. Here he is, the mastermind, is dropping the dagger to you, the same dagger that killed her parents, and one of the items which he has used previously to do other evil stuff. It's used with a specific metal, supposedly, or whatever it is. Because then it would have much more purpose. Darth Sidious is strong enough. What if the dagger is in Snoke's possession, and then Kylo Ren finds that, or Rey finds that there? See, there's other avenues they could have done.
Oh, how if they stumbled across it like in Last Jedi,
or if Kylo Ren knew that there was this, I don't know, chamber or spot or something, or chest or whatever, where Snoke keeps his stuff.
right?
You know what
Or
I mean?
if Snoke
Kinda like
even,
how
or if
Palpatine has
or
a room where he keeps his wife.
yeah, or like if Snoke just had the dagger hanging on his belt the whole time.
For example, you know what I mean? And this
Yeah.
dagger is important. Why? Well, I mean, we know now that Snoke is Sidious, right? Sidious is sort of impersonating. He's created a manifestation
Being
for
the
himself. Where he can
puppeteer,
sort of
right?
So in that case, if he's a puppeteer and Snoke is his puppet, he can actually have the dagger on him and then use it to give to Rey when he's interrogating her, or show her, or make her feel dark things, or give it to Kylo Ren and be like, "Hey, use this. Go find the Wayfinder. Your destiny's there."
Yeah.
So and so, and then he gives it to him earlier on in the film or something. And then once this is done, you need to bring me the girl, and then go seek your destiny. And then he decides to kill Snoke, but he still has the dagger. So then he reads it, because presumably Kylo Ren's learned Sith by now. I'm
Yeah.
completely presuming or assuming right now, But yeah, he's if he takes that and reads it, and then he goes straight to the second Death Star, and then he finds that, and he finds the chamber, and then he finds the Wayfinder, and he goes to Exegol. Obviously, it's really cool that he goes to Vader's old lair where he kept his Wayfinder, because he's such a
Right,
huge,
on Mustafar,
he's
yeah.
idolizing his grandfather and all that and everything. But then potentially Rey would have to go face off against Vader stuff. That would be amazing too. No, I mean, here we are writing fan fiction and stuff, but yeah,
Yeah.
here's just a few ideas of how we could make it work, And I like doing this more than I like bashing, I don't mean that it's a bad thing to bash. On the contrary,
Oh, yeah.
we need to
No,
express
yeah.
everything, and we need to express our opinions, and this is the space to do it. We want to create the space, but I want to make sure that we can also think about what we ought to have seen. Because if we just say no, and then if we say, if somebody asks me, well, what would have been better? Why did you do a better job then? Why don't you do a better job then? Okay, well, here's how I do it. If you just blank out and say, well, no, I don't know how to do it. It's not my job. Well, come on, you're not just here to sort of just absorb information. You gotta play with it a little bit. You gotta have your own little twinge here, twing and twang sort of thing. You gotta make sure you know what ticks. You gotta make sure what makes you like this and what makes you keep coming back for more.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to be extra hypercritical or anything, but you got to be a little bit critical.
Oh, you have to. Yeah. No, I'm pretty critical.
That's
I try to be pretty critical.
End of rant.
Yeah.
There you go.
No, there's like you said, we could sit and talk all day about what we could do to make it better. And actually, what you brought up a while ago, what we were talking about last week, trying to make episodes 7, 8, 9 better, and putting that beginning scene of Rise of Skywalker at the end of Last Jedi. I am putting that together, that scene. So
that's gonna be amazing.
Probably won't be able to monetize it on the YouTube channel at all, but I do want to make it and put it up. And I just to kind of see it, just to see, because I may put it together and go, nah, that don't work, never mind. But I just have this feeling like it's gonna work, So, and all the materials there to do it. There's a way you could do some sneaky editing to do it. So I'm giving it a shot. I'm gonna see if I can't get that made. So,
It would have
anyway,
been so cool if we saw, even that cackle, the laugh in the trailer of in the trailer of Rise of Skywalker. If we had zero inkling of that going into Last Jedi, and all of a sudden we hear that spine-chilling cackle at the end, right after Luke dies, and Kylo Ren goes in, and he's like, "Shit, they've escaped it. They've escaped me again."
Yeah.
And then we hear that, or even worse, if Luke hears that before he dies. Oh my God.
Oh geez. Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God. Let that be Luke's final thing he ever hears is.
Or maybe like one of the
oh my
last things,
God.
or maybe that's the thing that brings him into the Force. Maybe the cackle comes out.
He has a
right
heart
after
attack.
Kylo
Like,
Ren.
are you serious?
Oh damn! Or maybe even before that. Maybe it shouldn't be so severe. Maybe after Kylo Ren kills Snoke, and then they have this explosion thing on the motherboard on the mothership, of the First Order. Then we hear that cackle because like, oh, look at that, you've done it. Like you're growing, young Kylo Ren. You're gonna surpass Vader, sort of thing. And then he's like, what the F is going on? And he, what is that? And then Rey's like, holy crap. And she hears the voice and she's like, what is this I feel inside me, sort of thing, because there's a connection between her and the voice. Yeah, no, there's a bunch of ideas. Would you accept this? Would you like Lucasfilm to re-release the sequels just to change this little tidbit? I'm not saying reshoot the whole
what
thing.
we're talking
What
about?
if Lucasfilm came out and did this? Yeah, everything we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I'd be totally
You
okay with
would?
that. Yeah, I would. I would.
like
I would
that.
absolutely be okay with that. Hell, we've already changed every other Star Wars movie anyway. We have special editions of everything, so why not?
Well, I mean, they've only
I
ever
think they
changed
could
little
do it.
tidbits, right? But this is a big thing. It changes the perspective.
It does, and that's the
totally
thing. But that's the thing. That's what you need to change is the perspective. That's exactly what we need to change. So, I think if they were to come back and do that change, exactly the way, I don't want to say exactly the way I say it because they may come up with a better way to do it than me. But if they were to come up with a way to make the big cliffhanger in Last Jedi be that Palpatine is still alive instead of it being revealed in the opening crawl of 9, then yeah, I think that would be absolutely awesome. And it would really make it feel like one cohesive story. And that Palpatine was pulling the strings all the way through. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think I would be okay with it. I'm gonna work on it this weekend. I'm gonna see if I can't put that scene together, and I'll send it to you before I send it to anybody else to get your thoughts on it before I upload it. Because
nice.
I'll let you be the first one to see it. But yeah, I'm gonna put that together because I'm really curious how that would look and how it would feel.
Because me and Jessica Rice, I think, because she really deserves it. She really
she really got the topic right on this one because
the juice is flowing.
Yeah. So, but thanks you, Jessica, for sending in the question and letting us know your thoughts on it, guys. Let us know your thoughts on the Sith dagger on the blade of Ochi of Bastoon. Keep it civil. You guys know how I am. Keep it civil. Don't argue. It's a debatable thing, not an arguable thing. So. Is there anything else we need to talk about, Yusuf? Is there anything we're missing that we wanted to get out?
Nothing major, unless it's been a couple of episodes since you brought up the event when you're going to be raising funds.
You're absolutely right.
Charity raising funds for at the end of the year, towards the end of the year.
You're absolutely right. I don't think I brought it up on the last couple of episodes. So if you guys are new to the Star Wars Canon Podcast, new to 1138 Productions, we'll talk about it again. I'm going to be making an event on Facebook about this and kind of coming up with some more info the closer we get to it. But here's the main gist of it. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a veteran from the United States Army. I was in for 3 years. I know it's not that long compared to a lot of other people. I know it's not. So but I did a tour in Iraq, and there's a lot as far as the military goes that really stuck with me. And one of the things that I've had to deal with over the years and have firsthand experience with is veteran suicide. It's something that has changed me as a person and has really changed my outlook on a lot of things. And so it's a cause that matters a lot to me. It hits really close to home. So this November, on the 11th, which is Veterans Day in the United States, I am going to be sitting down and doing a 24-hour stream on YouTube. It's going to be gaming, Q&A, all this other stuff. We're just going to be sitting down and just streaming for 24 hours. Now, I don't think you can do a 24-hour stream on YouTube. I think you have to break it up into certain numbers. So what we'll end up doing is streaming for a few hours, cutting the stream, giving me a chance to kind of get up, stretch my legs, do what I need to do, get a drink, use the bathroom, anything like that. Come back and we're going to fire up the stream again. And we're going to be going for 24 hours. So during that 24 hours, we're going to be raising money to raise awareness and to combat veteran suicide in the form of super chats and PayPal donations. Every single penny that we make that night that is donated is going to be going towards that cause. We're not keeping a penny of it, none of it. And during that stream, for those of you that don't know, my Canon collection, I have now switched it to being a collection on my Kindle now. So I've got hardback books from everything all the way up until this time last year. And I think I've got some of the High Republic stuff in hardback and everything. So I've got several hardback novels that we're going to be raffling off and giving, or I shouldn't say raffling off. We're going to be giving away as prizes to everybody who donates over a certain amount to this cause. So basically we'll start, and this isn't how many books I have, but we're just doing round numbers. Let's say we start with 50 books that night. And somebody donates over that magic number, right? They will get the choice of these are the novels that we have. You get to pick which one. I'll take that book, put your name in it, keep it to the side. And then the next person to donate gets to pick from the 49 that are left, everything like that. So we're trying to give an incentive to those people who donate to this cause. And we'll get your shipping information and everything like that. You just email it to us after we get you tagged for a book. And we'll get those out to you guys as a thank you for donating to this cause. So that's going to be on November 11th. I'm really looking forward to it. More details will be coming in the coming months because we're coming up on May now. We're still 6 months away from this thing, 6.5 months out. So there's going to be a lot more info coming out. I'll let you guys know which charity, I guess you could say, we're going to be donating this to, and we're going to be promoting it pretty hard. So Usuf, I'm glad you brought that up. I did want to talk about that a little bit, and also
for sure.
and there's one other thing I wanted to bring up also. So my father-in-law has been working really hard the last couple of weeks. We bought a laser engraver, and he has been engraving shot glasses and like keychains, like all kinds of stuff.
Excited.
And they are absolutely awesome. I'm in love with the shot glasses. They're so freaking cool. And it's like, I think, a matter of fact, last week when you and I recorded, Usuf, the last 5 or 10 minutes, right toward the end, he walked in and set one down in front of me on the desk and then walked out. And it was dark in here. I had the lights off and everything. We weren't using video for anything, so I just had the lights off. We were just recording in the dark. And so when we got done recording, I shut everything off. I got up and I picked it up and walked out in the light and was looking at it. I was like, this is so cool. He actually engraved the Star Wars Canon Library logo in the side of the shot glass. It looked amazing. It kind of fogged the glass, for the logo. Looks so cool. So we're going to be giving away some of that stuff as well. And we're going to be getting a merchandise page up on 1138productions.com for those of you who would like to purchase some of that. And it's funny, as much as we just bashed the Wayfinders and everything, the first two shot glasses that we made, we only have 2 of. And so I'm keeping one, and I'm going to send the other one to Usuf, and I'm calling them the Wayfinder shot glasses because only 2 were made. As much as we just bashed the Wayfinders, we're gonna have the Wayfinder shot glasses, just the 2 of us. So, we have that to look forward to. But keep an eye out on 1138productions.com. We're going to be getting a storefront going there pretty soon. And make sure you tag the date for November 11th to join us to try to raise money for this cause. So I'm glad you brought that up, Usuf. I really did want to talk about that. So is there anything else now that we need to bring up before we sign off?
I'd like to wish our listeners a really happy weekend, and may the Force be with them. May the Force be with you, Brian, from all the way across the world.
And to you, brother, as well. So, all right. And that should do it for this episode of the Star Wars Canon Podcast. Don't forget, we are here every week talking about our favorite thing in the world on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Be sure to visit 1138productions.com for this show, the Marvel Cast, and coming soon, 1138 Talk Radio, which is still in the works, guys. We are still going to be getting that going as well. So 1138 Gaming can also be found at 1138productions.com. If you'd like to support us and our content, please check out patreon.com/1138productions and show some love there. You'll also gain access to the exclusive content that I mentioned earlier at the top of the show there as a thank you for supporting us. All those links can be found in the description of this show on whichever platform you're listening in on. So until next week, this is Brian Anusif signing off. Keep it civil, and may the Force be with you guys. All right, we're out. Good buddy.
Nice one.
Good
really
show.
like the show.